I don't really want to be here covering this type of news, but it's so major that I don't really have a choice. I'm personally dealing with my own emotions today because this time last year, around 9:30 in the morning, on July 24th, 2024, I lost my beloved Bacardi right over there in my office on my floor. She had survived her last night long enough for me to wake up and kiss her goodbye. And I'm dealing with that today. So I'm not really all there mentally. I did not anticipate the news that we were going to get today. And I don't even really know what to say. I'm just going to let it fly, and whatever comes out will be posted on YouTube. I know a lot of people are going to be up in arms about Hulk Hogan. It's already started on social media. I see people arguing with each other about the nasty things, the terrible things that he's done. Hulk Hogan's a racist. Hulk Hogan's a piece of shit. Hulk Hogan deserves to die. I got my wish. Thank you, God, for taking Hulk Hogan away from us. The world is now better with one less piece of shit in it. A wife lost a husband. Children lost their father. Fans worldwide lost their childhood. I don't really care at this point who Terry Bollea is. I don't. I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment on the contributions that this man gave to the sport of professional wrestling. Hulk Hogan passed away today in his home at 71 years old due to cardiac arrest. It was reported today by TMZ Sports. It was then later confirmed by multiple outlets, Fox News, WWE, so on and so forth. Hulk Hogan's health has been the talk of the wrestling world for the last several weeks. He just disappeared in May. Supposedly he went to go get neck surgery for an issue that was bothering him, and he never really recovered. Bubba Love Sponge went on his podcast and his radio show claiming different reports that Hogan's health was in decline. He's not looking good. People mentioned if he was in hospice. People didn't really go in depth on what was going on. He then came out this week and said that he was secretly transported Michael Jackson style to his home where he was resting, but it doesn't look good. We come to find out today, we wake up today that Hulk Hogan is no longer with us, passed away at the age of 71. I'm guessing everything that Bubba the Love Sponge got, whether you like him or not, he was more in the know than anybody else. I genuinely don't even know where to begin. I mean, Hogan, do we go over a whole Hulk Hogan career retrospective? Because I got notes here. I've been taking notes here. I got SE Scoops to thank for it. I got WrestlingNews.co to thank for it. He was born in 1953, the son of a construction foreman and a dance teacher. He did not want to get into athletics. He did not want to become a professional wrestler. He actually wanted to be a musician. He was a bass player. He pursued music with his band Ruckus that became a popular act in the Tampa Bay area in 1976. That didn't go anywhere. He was 6'7". He was 300 pounds. He drew the attention of local wrestlers Jack and Jerry Briscoe at the time, and they obviously pursued him and convinced him to become a professional wrestler. He was trained under Hiro Matsuda, a respected and notoriously tough trainer. Matsuda, on Bolea's first day of training to be a wrestler, broke his leg. He broke his leg to see if he would quit. He did not. He came back and earned his place, and he was trained. He wrestled regional promotions, taking low pay In return, he used several ring names early on. Terry the Hulk Boulder, a name that was given to him after a TV host remarked how large he was, actually larger than Lou Ferrigno of the Incredible Hulk fame, some thought. He joined WWF in 1979 under Vince Sr. He then gave him the surname of Hogan, the Irish surname of Hogan. Cast him as a villain. He was a villain in 1979. I don't think he knew then he'd become the greatest villain of all time in the world of professional wrestling back at Bash at the Beach in July of that fabled night, forming the NWO. It was managed by classy Freddie Blassie at the time, feuded with then-champion Bob Backlund. In 1982, he started to get some star underneath him. He was cast as the character Thunder Lips in Rocky III. Starred alongside Sylvester Stallone. Obviously, he got mainstream attention because of this role. Vince Sr. didn't like it. He disapproved the wrestlers taking outside film roles and fired Hulk Hogan for his participation in Rocky III. Obviously, he had celebrity now. He was a top draw in the AWA. When Vince Jr. took over from his father, he needed a star. He needed somebody with worldwide recognition. He had Hulk Hogan come on in, and this was the plan for national expansion. He needed someone with that look. He needed somebody with that potential crossover appeal because his vision for pro wrestling was different than his father's. He was now a recognizable actor because of the Rocky III role and a popular wrestler. And Vince gave him the opportunity to be the leading guy to run the WWF as the top guy. 1983, I was 1 year old. He was positioned as the real American Hulk Hogan. Hulkamania is just beginning. Madison Square Garden defeated the Iron Sheik, won his first WWF World Championship. The real American, known for his yellow and red attire. His fans were Hulkamaniacs. Say your prayers, eat your vitamins. His ring entrance, the most iconic pro wrestling theme of all time. Real American. Tearing the t-shirt. It became a worldwide phenomenon to what we see it today. WWF was leading the charge to WrestleMania 1. March 31st, 1985. The first ever WrestleMania. They partnered with MTV. The Rock and Wrestling Connection. With the partnership with MTV to get pro wrestling into the mainstream. This strategy involved cross promotions with Cyndi Lauper and other musicians to get a younger, broader audience on board with professional wrestling. WrestleMania started March 31st, 1985. It was designed to be the Super Bowl of pro wrestling, which that is the case today in 2025. Hulk Hogan teamed with Mr. T to face Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff. The inclusion of celebrities like Mr. T, Muhammad Ali, Liberace, Cyndi Lauper helped ensure mainstream media attention and the event's success. Hogan would then go on to headline 8 out of the 9 WrestleManias. WrestleMania 1 all the way up to WrestleMania 9. He main evented 8 of those first 9 WrestleManias. He was the company's biggest star. Obviously, you guys know the iconic moments with Andre, the slam heard around the world in front of 93,000 people. The most iconic moment to me in my childhood was him and Ultimate Warrior in the Sky Dome at WrestleMania 6, WWF title versus Intercontinental title. That's what I was growing up on. I was way too young to even appreciate the Andre the Giant slam heard around the world. My iconic Hogan moment was the Warrior at WrestleMania 6. Unbelievable. Hogan did the deal. Dropped the title to Warrior. Warrior was champion for 270 days, roughly. His title reign did not go as expected. No real credible challengers for the belts. Obviously, a lot of political situations with the Ultimate Warrior, him wanting to be paid more, contract problems. He was threatening Vince McMahon. They opted to take the belt off him. They put it right back on Hogan. Hogan beat Sergeant Slaughter, who previously beat the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 7. He won the title back from Sergeant Slaughter, and we are, once again, on with Hulk Hogan as the top guy. Just goes to show you the appeal of Hulk Hogan, even in the midst of a rising star like the Ultimate Warrior. But Hogan's act at that time wasn't really the same as it was through the early 80s. People began to get bored of the gimmick and the character. It was dated even then. But they ran with it. Obviously, the feud with Macho Man Randy Savage, the Mega Powers, first as tag team partners, then later as rivals. They headlined WrestleMania 5, which was also another great moment for me watching that. I actually cried during that show because I was a big Warrior guy, and he lost the IC title to Ravishing Rick Rude, thanks to Bobby the Brain Heenan. I remember exactly where I was. I was sitting on my grandma's living room rug watching that as it was happening live with my grandpa in his rocking chair, and all I am is crying on the floor. Why are you crying? Well, the Ultimate Warrior just got fucking robbed. That's why. One of the greatest storylines of all time, possibly, with Savage and Hogan. He had feuds with Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, the Iron Sheik. Obviously, you know the Yokozuna debacle at WrestleMania 9. I was very sad we didn't get Hogan and Brett. I was looking forward to that. It was a natural progression. But the reason why we didn't get Hogan and Brett is because Hogan didn't want to put over Brett. And they figured Brett wasn't going to challenge for the championship. They went with Lex Luger because Vince wanted to recreate the American hero in Lex Luger. So they did Luger and Yoko and gave Brett the King of the Ring. And that's why they created the King of the Ring, because Vince, he was so upset that Hogan was leaving. He wanted somebody to replace Hogan. Vince tried it. In 1993, it wasn't going to happen. In 2025, it's never going to happen. You're never going to duplicate and replicate Hulk Hogan. He left. He went to WCW. He joined WCW. Bash at the Beach, his first show. Ric Flair, WCW title in June 1994. He played the same character that he played under Vince. You thought it was dated during WrestleMania 7. Imagine how dated it was joining WCW in 1994. And then we get the heel turn. The greatest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling. Will forever be the greatest heel turn in the history of professional wrestling. 1996, July 7th, Bash of the Beach. Turned on WCW by leg-dropping Macho Man Randy Savage, joining Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, forming the NWO. The greatest, most iconic moment in the history of professional wrestling. There's a reason why John Cena's heel turn wasn't the greatest heel turn of all time. Not only because it happened way too late in John Cena's career, but Hulk Hogan's was that much more iconic. It happened during a time where it needed to happen. It transcended the entire business. It steamrolled over the competition for 83 straight weeks. Hulk Hogan, who was Vince McMahon's greatest creation outside of WrestleMania, almost put him out of business. That's fucking unbelievable, bro. Can you imagine Hulk Hogan, created by Vince to lead WWF, almost put Vince out of business? I don't think that heel turn, in some circles, that heel turn doesn't get the proper love that it deserves. And it won't from some people because they're blinded by what Terry Bollea did and not what Hulk Hogan did. The greatest heel turn of all time. I'll get back to that in a second. Obviously, the Monday Night Wars, 83 straight weeks. That all got ruined, though. We got the finger poke of doom, which basically damaged the company's credibility. Hogan and Sting at Starcade, Starcade, the biggest match in WCW history, even with the botched ending. The storyline and the culmination of that was tremendous. Goldberg's arrival and his rise to superstardom, the Georgia Dome, 40,000 people, the jackhammer, Goldberg beating Hogan for the title. Another moment that Hogan was a part of. With that creative control, I'm surprised he actually went for it. All these great things that Hogan did. All these great moments that transcended the business. Hogan wasn't perfect by any means. Terry Bollea wasn't perfect by any means. 1994, we got the steroid trial with WWF, Vince McMahon. The investigation that stemmed with the conviction of Dr. George Zaharian, a physician who had supplied steroids to WWF wrestlers at the time. Hogan previously denied using steroids on the Arsenio Hall show in 1991. He was a key witness for this case and was granted immunity. Hogan then, under oath, testified that he used steroids after saying no on the Arsenio Hall show, that he used steroids since 1976 for physique enhancement and for injury recovery. He said Vince McMahon never sold him steroids and never ordered him to personally take them. Vince McMahon was acquitted. The trial, though, damaged Hogan's credibility and his public image with the young audience and children. Gawker, the one instance that he's taking to the grave now. The one instance where the public, media, and everybody nailed him to the cross for over 10 years. Gawker published a 1 minute and 41-second excerpt of his sex tape that was recorded in 2006 without Hogan's knowledge, showing him and then wife of his ex-best friend Bubba the Love Sponge, Heather Clem. Imagine that. Boleya sued Gawker for $100 million for invasion of privacy. The case pitted the First Amendment press freedoms against an individual's right to privacy. A Florida jury then, in March of 2016, awarded Boleya $140 million in damages. The verdict led to Gawker filing for bankruptcy and settled with Terry Boleya for $31 million. It was later revealed that the lawsuit had been secretly funded by Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel as a retaliation against Gawker for a 2007 article that had outed him as gay. After the Gawker legal proceedings, sealed transcripts from the sex tape were leaked, revealing Hogan making racist remarks that people never let him live down. The audio was showcased to everybody. He used the N-word repeatedly while complaining about his daughter, Brooke, in a relationship at the time with a black basketball player, stated, "I am racist," to a point. Further recordings from 2008 and a jailhouse phone call with his son Nick captured Hogan using that word again. He never was able to let that go. It followed him everywhere. WWE terminated his contract following all this in July of 2015. Very weirdly, on July 24th, 2015, where we come today, 10 years later, and he passes away on July 24th, 2015. Company removed him from the Hall of Fame, erased all references of Hulk Hogan on its website, from the Hall of Fame, on merchandise. He became non-existent. He issued a public apology, calling the language unacceptable, stating, "This is not who I am." He later attributed his comments to the environment in which he was raised, a claim that was disputed by some former neighbors of Boleya. Obviously, his family issues were public. His relationship with his wife, his then ex-wife, or his then wife, now ex-wife, his daughter Brooke, his son Nick. Very, very nasty family dynamic. Hogan Knows Best from 2005 to 2007. I was an avid watcher of the reality series. Divorced from Linda Hogan. Hogan and his first wife, Linda, divorced in 2009 after 24 years of marriage. The split was acrimonious, with Linda publicly accusing Hogan of infidelity with their daughter's close friend and of physical and verbal abuse during their marriage. Hogan denied these allegations of infidelity in a memoir that he published. The divorce settlement awarded Linda more than 70% of the couple's liquid assets and a $3 million property settlement. Nick Hogan, he ran into some legal troubles. In August of 2007, Hogan's son Nick Boleya, then 17, was involved in a street racing accident that left his passenger, John Granziano, with permanent brain damage. Nick pleaded no contest to reckless driving and was sentenced to 8 months of jail. In November 2023, Nick was arrested again for driving under the influence. You would think that if you're driving under the influence one time and you get caught and you got a serious situation that occurred there, you wouldn't do it again. but he did it anyway. Driving under the influence in Clearwater, Florida, for which he later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 1-year probation. He's lucky. Brooke Hogan's allegations. In March of 2025, Hogan's daughter Brooke revealed that she was estranged from both of her parents. In a social media post, she alleged that she had been extremely verbally and mentally abused since childhood, and that abuse would frequently turn physical. She stated that she had completely separate reasons for going no contact with each of her parents. This year, a relationship with Donald Trump came out of nowhere. I knew they were friends, but he endorsed Donald Trump at the Republican National Convention in a very charismatic and over-the-top speech. Hogan was a longtime friend and public supporter of Donald Trump. He stated that he had been friends with Trump for over 25 years. In 2024, Hogan spoke at the Republican National Convention where he referred to Trump as a real American hero and concluded his speech by tearing off his shirt, revealing a Trump Vance campaign t-shirt. He also appeared at a Trump rally, encouraging the crowd support for Donald Trump's campaign. After WWE acquired WCW, Hogan returned to the company in February of 2002. He was the leader of the NWO even then. At WrestleMania 18, he faced The Rock in an icon versus icon match, which probably will go down as my second favorite Hulk Hogan moment of all time. The Ultimate Warrior Hulk Hogan moment is my favorite childhood moment. To me, the match with The Rock and Hulk Hogan outside of the heel turn was the second greatest moment of all time. That match was unbelievable. If there's one match you go watch from Hulk Hogan, it's that match with The Rock at WrestleMania 18. I'll get back to that in a second. Despite being cast as the heel in front of that Sky Dome crowd in Toronto, Hogan basically turned babyface because of that massive reaction leading to an impromptu face turn during the match. Riding that wave of Hulkamania, again, he defeated Triple H to win the undisputed WWE Championship, his sixth and final WWE World title with the company. He then went to TNA. From 2009 to 2013, Hogan worked for TNA alongside Eric Bischoff in an attempt to make the promotion a major competitor to WWE. His tenure included storylines such as the heel faction Immortal, but that did not lead to a sustained ratings increase for the company. He then later returned to WWE in an ambassador role, including hosting WrestleMania 30 in 2014. On July 15, 2018, he was reinstated by WWE into the Hall of Fame, citing his public apologies for his racist remarks. He was inducted for a second time in the Hall of Fame in 2020 as a member of the NWO. In his final years, Hogan launched a brand of beer called Real American Beer and served as the commissioner for a new promotion that really hasn't gotten started at all, Real American Freestyle. He was the face of the promotion. They got a show in Cleveland that they have less than 1,000 tickets out for, and I wonder what's going to happen with that now that Eric Bischoff is basically seen running the show by himself. He's continued to make sporadic appearances for WWE, with his last live appearance on the January 6th episode of Monday Night Raw, the debut on Netflix where he got booed out of Los Angeles. His daughter, Brooke Hogan, says she's at peace following her father's death. According to TMZ sources close to the family, Brooke learned of her father's death on Thursday morning when her brother Nick texted her husband with the news. The report states that the father-daughter relationship had been broken for some time due to a culmination of issues over the years and Brooke's feelings about how her father had been treated, or how she was treated by her father. The last time the two spoke was reportedly in a phone call 2 weeks before Hogan married Sky Daly in September of 2023. During that final conversation, sources say Brooke expressed her deep love and concern for her father's declining health. We're told she urged her dad to slow down and enjoy life, but Hulk did not want to hear any of it, and they hadn't spoken since. During that same call, Hogan reportedly apologized to his daughter, though he was not specific about what he was sorry for. Despite the difficult nature of their relationship, sources say Brooke was always coming from a place of love and was very protective of her father, even when her concern was not well received. The estranged relationship between Hogan and Brooke, or Bollea, Terry Bollea and Brooke Hogan, was significant enough that Hogan had not met Brooke's children. According to the report, Brooke's husband made multiple attempts to mend the relationship, including reaching out to Hulk after Brooke nearly died during childbirth. However, Hulk Hogan responded coldly and never made an effort to meet Brooke's kids, the sources tell TMZ. Adding to that, he ultimately only wanted a relationship with her under his terms. Despite the years of difficulty and lack of communication, sources say Brooke feels at peace following her father's death. She's reportedly lucky and grateful she got to say "I love you" during their last conversation, and she feels at peace knowing she did everything she could to protect and support him. Hulk Hogan passed away on Thursday morning at the age of 71. Medics were dispatched to his home in Clearwater, Florida for cardiac arrest. He remains one of the most iconic and influential figures in the history of professional wrestling and pop culture, and there will never be another Hulk Hogan. I had gathered all these pieces of news just to give you the influence that Hulk Hogan has been, good and bad. I was never the biggest Hulk Hogan guy. I was more of a warrior than I was a Hulkamaniac. I was too young to really understand the significance and the importance of Hulk Hogan. I was born in 1982, February 6, 1982. By the time I got to an age where I was understanding what I was watching, it was around the time of WrestleMania 5. I remember I was on my grandma's rug watching Ultimate Warrior and ravishing Rick Rude for the Intercontinental title, Savage and Hogan for the WWF title with Elizabeth as the centerpiece in that feud. I was never really enamored with Hulk Hogan and who he was as an on-screen character. The yellow and red, the say your prayers, take your vitamins, the signature mustache, the blonde hair, the American flag, the real American hero. I was never enamored with it. It was definitely more of a warrior, the chaos, the running to the ring, that guitar chug, shaking the ropes, the different color strands that the warrior wore, and the face paint. WrestleMania 6 to me as a child was the most iconic childhood moment that I've had, and it never was duplicated, even as I sit here now as a 43-year-old dude. I never really appreciated what Hulk Hogan's influence to the business was until I got to high school. I went to Mount St. Michael High School in the Bronx, and we all stood outside the school right during the morning hours before we were led into our homeroom. We were talking about pro wrestling. Did you see what happened on WCW Nitro? Did you see what happened on Monday Night Raw? I was only afforded a very small window to watch professional wrestling, and I always chose WWF. I was never given the opportunity to watch anything but WWF. Parents didn't allow it. It was on late. I was able to watch it on Saturdays when they had Superstars, because that was on at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, followed by American Gladiators here on Fox 5 in New York. My parents never let us stay up late. We were always in bed by the time Monday Night Raw started, so I never really got to see Monday Night Raw unless my dad said, you know what, let them stay up. For an hour, we'll watch from 9 to 10. Monday Night Raw was actually 1 hour back in the day, in the early days. Then they moved to 2 hours, 9 to 11. When my dad said it was all right, we watched. And we all got into pro wrestling. Me, my brother Frank, and my brother Mike, we all got into pro wrestling because of my dad. Ordering on the big satellite wrestling pay-per-view, WrestleMania 4, WrestleMania 5. Watched it over my grandma's house. My grandma had the illegal box. We'd love to go to my grandma's house and watch these shows because she had the illegal box. She didn't have to pay for it. I never really appreciated Hulk Hogan until I was in high school. And then as I grew older into college, I never got a chance to see, as it happened, the heel turn. I never got to see the formation of the NWO. I was always WWF. Everybody's talking about, oh, how could you watch that? WCW's where it's at. 83 weeks. They were getting killed in the fucking ratings. I didn't give a shit. I wanted my Razors, and I wanted my Bretts, and I wanted my Shawn Michaels, and I wanted my Undertakers, and I wanted my Mick Foleys, my Mankind's. Ahmed Johnson. The Smoking Guns. It's not good during those early freshman high school years, man. It wasn't good. As I got older, I went back and watched what led to the heel turn, the formation of the NWO. There's not a moment that will ever be that will even come close to that. It may be the greatest wrestling moment in the history of pro wrestling until there is no earth anymore, until human existence ceases to exist. There will never be another moment like that heel turn at Bash at the Beach. That's why John Cena's heel turn is always going to be number 2. I don't care who you are. If you have a problem with Bolea or not. If you're not a fan of Hogan or not. The greatest moment in the history of pro wrestling is that heel turn and the formation of the NWO. Mean Gene and his stance on Hulk Hogan at that point. They were a fucking linked item. Without Hogan, there's no Gene. Without Gene, there's no Hogan. The disgust in Gene's voice. Bobby Heenan, before Hogan even hit the ring. Whose side is he on? Dusty Rhodes on commentary. Go get him, baby! Then the leg drop and the call from Shivani. Crowd shocked. Trash being thrown in the ring. The promo. To go from what we grew up with to see that, not only was he the one who brought WWF to prominence, this is now his second period, a second boom period where he's the centralized figure. He's the only man in the existence of this sport to have 2 huge roles. Getting WWF started, bringing them to mainstream notoriety, and then the heel turn which transcended the business to where we see it today. Without Hogan, there might not be a WWF. Without a Hulk Hogan, there might not be a Vince McMahon. He'll be back doing whatever the fuck he was doing before he linked up with his father to run a pro wrestling company. Paperboy, whatever the fuck he was. Without Hogan, there might not be a WWF. Without Hulk Hogan, pro wrestling isn't what it is today. Without Hulk Hogan, the mainstream attention that pro wrestling got might not be the way it is today. The man has transcended generations and has given this sport to what we see it as today. You could sit there and cry racist. You could sit there and cry all these bad things that he's done. You're completely justified in all that to feel how you want. But I'd like to think that at some point, we as human beings can differentiate the bad person that Terry Bollea was to the performer that Hulk Hogan was, and all that he did for us fans, the sport that we love, to differentiate the human being from the performer, to see what his contributions have amounted to for this thing that we love called pro wrestling. I genuinely hope people celebrate what he's done for the sport and not solely focus on the bad. The bad's going to come with the good. People are going to talk about the bad. I listed some of the things that he did were egregious. You can't escape that stuff. You got to take the good with the bad in all aspects. But I'm not going to let that soil his contributions to the world of pro wrestling. Do I think that what Hogan did in his personal life affected his legacy? Tarnished his legacy to a point? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Instead of being a beloved American hero by all, he's now a beloved American hero only to some. You might not, listen, you might not be a fan of pro wrestling because of Terry Bollea, because of Hulk Hogan. I understand that. Different generations, different mindsets. You might be someone that picked up watching pro wrestling 10 years ago, and John Cena may be the reason why you started watching pro wrestling. And you don't even know the importance. You don't even know the beginnings of the importance of Hulk Hogan and what he's done for the business. You can go back. It's the great thing about pro wrestling. You got decades and decades and decades of things that's just endless possibilities, man. John Cena may be your in to pro wrestling. Bayley and Sasha Banks may be your in to professional wrestling. Roman Reigns may be your in to pro wrestling. Steve Austin and The Rock may be your in to pro wrestling. Adam Copeland, Edge might be your in to pro wrestling. CM Punk might be your in to pro wrestling. It doesn't matter. Different generations, different age brackets, different mindset. But for me and people that were born in the early 80s, today we lost a piece of our childhood. Today we lost an iconic part of what made pro wrestling to us. And it's perfectly okay to celebrate what the man has done to make us fall in love with professional wrestling and everything that came along with it on his journey. Again, I was too young. I didn't really appreciate Hogan until I was much older, into the late stages of high school, into college, and into my early 20s, my late 30s, where I see now into my 40s. I appreciate Hogan more now than I did then. The Warrior Hogan spot at WrestleMania 6 is going to be my favorite childhood memory of all time. The heel turn at Bash at the Beach, the greatest moment in the history of professional wrestling. The match with The Rock. I was in college at Western Connecticut State University in Danbury, Connecticut. I was living on campus at the time. It's a little fuzzy. I think my grandma had taped WrestleMania that weekend. And when I got back to campus, I had the tape, and me and my best friend Pete, we watched the match from our dorm room. Enthralled, enamored with what's going on. We looked at each other. I remember it like it was yesterday. We looked at each other when Hogan hulked up at The Rock after the rock bottom and pointed the finger at him. We knew we were watching an iconic moment that will never be forgotten as long as we are alive. I don't think at that point I ever heard a crowd. Up until that point in my life, I never heard a crowd like that come alive. We didn't even know what the fuck we were watching, bro. We knew that Hollywood Hulk Hogan came into that match, but we knew Hulkamania left the Sky Dome at WrestleMania 18. There are matches, and then there are moments. You talk about a WrestleMania moment. Fuck a WrestleMania moment. That's one of the greatest matches in the history of professional wrestling. Just because of what happened that night. Nobody anticipated what was going to happen on that night. Unbelievable. If there's a WrestleMania match you go back and watch every year, that better be on the fucking list. Vince McMahon tweeted out, "I'm not surprised to hear from the old man." He says, and I quote, "The world lost a treasure today. Hulk Hogan was the greatest WWE superstar of all time. Someone who was loved and admired around the world. He was a trailblazer, the first performer who transitioned from being a wrestling star into a global phenomenon. His grit and unbridled thirst for success were unparalleled and made him the consummate performer. He gave everything he had to the audience whom he appreciated, respected, and loved. He leaves us with one of his favorite expressions. Train, take your vitamins, and say your prayers. Today, we pray for him." Vince tweeted that at 2:17 p.m. today on Thursday. Again, in closing, there will never be another Hulk Hogan. Never. Who you see on TV today will never amount to what Hulk Hogan is as a performer and what he has done for the business of pro wrestling. Again, I must reiterate, I grew up in the time when Hogan was just becoming the worldwide star that he was. You might have grown up in a different generation with different talents around, and Hogan might not be the reason for your love of professional wrestling. But the contributions that came from Hulk Hogan to the world of pro wrestling will never be seen or heard of again. Hollywood, mainstream pop culture celebrity, the way we see it today with Cardi B and Jelly Roll and Bad Bunny. The reason why this is the way it is today is because Hulk Hogan, Rocky III, Mr. T, WrestleMania 1, Cyndi Lauper, WrestleMania 1, all this means so much to what we see, the current product, and the way we consume it today is thanks to Hulk Hogan. He is a part of two of the greatest moments in the history of this sport. WrestleMania 1, the leader of the WWF, the heel turn transcending not only the business, but his career. When people just roll over and die and stick to what they know, Hogan made the change from what he was so comfortable with. Abandoned everything that was known to him to do something different. Not only did it save his career, it saved pro wrestling, and it almost killed Vince McMahon and put WWF out of business. Who in today's climate can say they can do that? Nobody, and there will never be another like Hulk Hogan. You can sit there and cry about how he's a terrible person, he's done this, he's done that, he said this, he said that. Differentiate Terry Bollea, which you are justified to feel your ways towards Terry Bollea. Differentiate the shitty person that he was and that we've known in the public spotlight to what he's done for the world of pro wrestling. The world lost an icon. Those who grow up in that early 80s time period lost a childhood memory that will live on forever. A piece of our childhood has died today. Show some respect. The nasty shit that I'm seeing on social media, I'm not surprised by it. These people use or will use Hulk Hogan's death as a way to engagement farm and spew hate because they hate themselves and they know it's going to get traction and clicks and engagement. A wife lost a husband, children lost their father today. I really wish everybody would appreciate what he's done for the business that we are all in. I'm a content creator for the love of pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling because it was men like Hulk Hogan who got it started. I grew up watching this man on my television screen. I'm 43 years old. Since I was 3 years old, I've been watching this guy for 40 fucking years on my television. At least show some respect now that he's lost his life. I know that's saying a lot in today's climate. But again, I really urge the people to really differentiate the man Bollea from the performer Hulk Hogan. I didn't know what I wanted to say on here. I just let it fly. I took some notes during the day and just gave you a brief summary of some of the good and some of the bad of Hulk Hogan's career. Again, I didn't really know what to say. I don't really know what to say when situations like this arise. But I hope you appreciated this little, I won't say it's a tribute, but this little recollection of how important Hulk Hogan, the character, was to me in my childhood, sharing some of my favorite moments with you and some moments that I was a part of and that I look back on and they mean a whole lot to me. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to share in the comment section what you feel about Hulk Hogan, the performer Hulk Hogan. Spread some positivity because I know everybody's going to initiate the bad. Give me a positive memory, your favorite memory of Hulk Hogan from when you're younger. What really gravitated you to him, your favorite match, your favorite moment, sound off in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. I read them all. Thank you guys very much for sticking with me. Thank you very much for all the support that you've shown me and will continue to show me. I'm having a rough day myself as I I'm celebrating the anniversary of my beloved Bacardi, who passed away coincidentally on July 24th last year, 9:30 a.m. It's a very emotional day, man. I did not really expect to wake up and see the news that Hulk Hogan had passed away. So it's a difficult day today for a lot of different reasons. And I just want to say I love you guys and I appreciate you guys very much. I'll see you on Friday. We'll be live for SmackDown right here on the podcast, on YouTube. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. Leave me a comment down below. Please leave a thumbs up. And I'll see you back here for Friday Night SmackDown right here on OTS.